Hey beautiful people, what is up and welcome back to my channel. I'm Jamila. I love all things beauty. I love all things makeup and skincare, and I especially love sharing my tips and tricks for how to find high-end and luxury beauty products at bargain prices. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, I would absolutely love if you would consider subscribing and joining the fam. So today I'm going to be doing, oh, that was a bit much. But today I'm going to be doing a first impressions on the brand new Samarian Sunset palette from Adept Cosmetics. You guys know when this launched, it was immediately add to cart. It's an orange palette. I'm an orange person, so it had to be there. I fell in love with the color story for this, and I was, that ready to buy this at launch. I was able to save a little bit of money on it using an affiliate code. I am also an affiliate with Adept, so if you are interested in picking this up or any other products, I do have an affiliate code. It's just my name, Jamila. It'll save you 10%, and I do get a small kickback, which of course goes into supporting this channel. So I always appreciate it when you guys shop through my codes, but like I always say, wait for a better sale, save you some coins, and you don't have to shop using my link at all if you are not comfortable doing so. So per usual, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys some product details. While I'm telling you guys about the palette, I will pop up some swatches so you can see what it looks like on my complexion. I'm a medium deep complexion with a yellow/golden undertone, and I take all of my swatches pretty much outside in direct sunlight, but I will insert a little clip of it inside as well with the light from my flashlight, so you can just see a little bit of how it sparkles when the artificial light hits it. After that, I'm going to dive into 3 looks for you guys so you can see what it looks like on my complexion. And then I'm going to come back at the end, give you guys some comparisons to the House of L palette, because I know, like me, a lot of you guys were curious as to whether or not it was similar. And given that House of L was a limited edition palette, this may be a good way for you to decide if you can get what you missed out in that palette. And of course, I will wrap things up at the end with my sort of overarching first impressions thoughts. As a reminder, this is a first impressions video, so I will come back in a couple of weeks when I'm sort of ranking all of the palettes that I've tried, or the last 10 palettes that I've tried, just to give you guys some thoughts on how it falls in like all of the products I've been trying and whether my feelings may or may not have changed over that time. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive right in, starting with some of the product details. So on the website, it says Samarian Sunset is a clear colored drink that will change color, primarily a luminescent green and orange, when its container is vibrated with a strong ping. Featured in TNG Conundrum and DS9 Profit and Loss. Are those movies? I don't know what that is. It also describes this as a palette made in the traditional style, full of very sparkly multichromes, one of which is a halo, 1 sparkly duochrome, and 5 matte shades, designed to complement and intensify your sparkly eyes. This palette is vegan and does not contain talc, glitter, oil, or BHT. The formula is creamy and will need to be kept in a cool, dry place. The shimmer formula will work best if applied with your fingers. Some shades are a gel cream mixture, not a typical powder eyeshadow, and may move around while in transit or when you touch it. This is normal. Trill is a multichrome pigment that is not safe for eye use in the USA, but safe for eye use in Europe. The palette may stain the skin. An oil-based makeup remover is highly recommended for this formula. There will be creasing, and there may also be shimmer fallout. To help with both issues, a good primer is recommended. High amounts of shea butter in the eyeshadow may cause a natural nut smell or something similar. This is normal. We do not use any type of masking or fragrance to cover the odor. It's a magnetic palette with removable magnetic pans. Each pan is approximately 2 to 2.5 grams. The outer packaging is made of 27% upcycled mix of vegan faux leather and plastic. When you open the box, there may be a chemical smell from the packaging. The smell is a UV coat that we use to protect the leather and other materials and will fade over time. And lastly, the palette is cruelty-free, vegan, has a 12-month shelf life, and will retail for $79 and is not limited edition. Okay guys, good morning. So we're going to jump right into the Samarian Sunset palette from Adept Cosmetics. It's so beautiful. I'm going to keep things simple today because I'm actually going to the office for today. So I'm a little short on time, so this is going to be quick, easy peasy, in and out. So before we go in, of course, I want to show you guys the palette in full pristine condition. I haven't swatched it yet. And one thing to take note of is the reflections in the mirror, where you can really see the shifts of those colors. beautiful. Okay, I'm not 100% sure what I want to do yet, but I already know I'm gonna have to reach into another palette because this is not gonna go deep enough. We needed a one deep brown, but it's okay. Let me get my Adept La Cienega palette. Okay, so this is the La Cienega palette from Adept Cosmetics. You'll see it has those 2 deep browns, which is exactly what I'm gonna need for this look. Again, because I'm going into the office today, I'm not doing anything crazy, which is why I need a solid brown shape that I can work with. Okay, so let's start things off by going into this light peachy shade here as my transition color. This is called Poistronic Net. I don't know what that is. I think there's a Star Wars theme to this palette, but I don't know. I don't watch Star Wars, or never watched. Is it still on? Is that a thing? Okay, this is a pretty light shade. Maybe a hair too light for me, but we're making this work as our transition shade. And with the concealer that I laid down as a base, it is actually deepening up some. Okay, so I cleaned off that same brush and I'm going into Delta Quadrant, which is this orange shade. It's actually pretty rich, and I'm kind of going to use this as the crease shade slash deepening up shade. You can see that first one didn't really add much of anything, so I'm going in with this to start building some color in the crease and blending it out. This is like a true red orange.
I feel the rain coming down right now. Finally feel alive and I don't know how.
Okay, that shade added really nice. Like, it blended really nicely onto that. Okay, so because there's no like deep dark shade in there, I'm gonna go into my La Cienega palette. I think I'm gonna go into this shade. It's called Hawthorne, and I'm gonna use, no, that's called Baldwin Hills, and I'm gonna use that as my outer corner shade. So I'm picking up a little bit of that on my B5 brush from Blend Bunny Cosmetics, stamping it into the outer part of the eye, and then I'm just going to start blending that into the first 2 shades to get me a nice little gradient and some depth in this outer corner.
Search until you find it, say it's in the timing. I just call it righteous. I just call it righteous.
Okay, we have a little baby sunset going on the eyes. Super cute. God, I spilled coffee on my shade. Now I need to change. Okay, so I tried a little something something. Hopefully my shirt dries. If not, I need to change, which is going to be annoying because I wanted to wear this. Okay, I am gonna put one shade on the lid. That's gonna be the plan today, because these are multi-chromes. We're trying to keep things simple. Single. So these are the shades that we have. Oh my god, it's so beautiful. So I'm torn in between a couple of shades. And I have not swatched this yet, obviously. Okay, so I'm gonna swatch a couple just to see what they look like. I am interested in this one, and this one. Ooh, that one is... Ooh. Okay. Now that just got interesting. So we have Lal, that's the first one. Youth Defiant, second one. And Obsidian Order. That is creamy. Going back in with Youth Defiant. That's pretty. Maybe I can get away with 2. Looking at these 2. And since we're here, let's swatch Pack Gold. Okay, that's pretty. Oh. Okay, let me think. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start with Youth Defiant. Now I'm trying to pick it up with my Tom Ford number 11 brush. Not really getting great pickup on the brush. So, you know the drill. I'm gonna go ahead and switch to my finger. This is a very, very creamy shade. And I'm gonna plop that on the majority of the lid. And I felt like Pack Gold was somewhat similar when I swatched it. So I'm actually gonna take a little bit of Pack Gold. I was gonna go Lax, but I'm gonna take some Pack Gold.
But the whole time you had the keys. I don't know what it is you're doing to me.
Yeah, putting it in that inner space to blend into the face shade. Now you can see the difference, but I will admit they are similar. And they look very, very different in the pan. Okay, there we go. So this is what we're working with. I'm gonna go ahead and clean things up, do a little bit of blending, make sure everything's seamless, and I'll come back and show you guys the final look.
Like this, ain't nothing else like this. All my money made me wanna give it to you. Raise my hands, boy, you got that hallelujah. Search until you find it. Say it's in the time.
Okay, so this is the final look. I need to get out of here because, like I said, I'm going into the office. So I'll be back in a couple of seconds to show you guys look number 2. But this is look number 1, and so far, she cute. I like this. Very, very happy. So keep you guys posted. Let's go ahead and dive into look number 2. Okay, we're back. So let's go ahead and jump right in with look number 2. So of course, we're going to be playing around with greens today. I want to try this even though I know it's going to look real dusty on me. So I might try to do that a little bit backwards. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this deep green shade. It's called Tanagra. And then using my Ariel A11 brush from the Ariel X Morphe collab, I'm going to be using that as my transition shade. And I know I have a couple bruises on my face. It's because mosquitoes have been eating me alive. Like literally eating me alive.
Crazy how I feel, but something in my heart is saying.
This is actually pretty darn deep. So I'm gonna go in with the lighter shade to try and lighten it up a bit. But for now, we're just laying that down in the crease. Kind of keeping it a little bit low and then trying to blend out the edges to soften it up.
Baby, you hold me down just like this gravity, yeah. We could be underground, you make it feel.
Now I am going to take a little bit of a smaller brush and I'm going to go into that light shade. It's called Jalahad, and I'm going to do 2 things. So I want to place it in the inner front part of the eye here. And I want to kind of use it to blend out the edges on top of the deep green. So just blending it in here as a sort of transition shade for the front part of the eye.
Where you lead me, wherever you lead me, don't ever leave. I love the feeling, never thought I'd be here.
I'm switching brushes because that one's a little too dense. I'm switching to my Unit 309 brush. This one just has a little bit more give to it. There we go.
It's real and I'm on the move.
So again, just plopping that into the inner front part of the eye here. And then I'm just gonna run it on top of the first shade. Just to soften up the edges and give us a really nice blend. Now we are of course gonna end up going back and doing a lot more blending. But for next up, we're gonna go into Darmok, which is this, I don't even know, it's like a mossy green. It looks like it's deeper, but I don't know if it actually is. Now I want to put that into the outer part of the eye. So I'm kind of stamping this in right here. And I'm using a fluffier brush than I typically would for this area. So I may need to switch brushes to get a little bit more precise application. Okay, I'm switching to this brush from my Sydney Grace collection. I'm basically out of brushes, you guys. I need to wash my brushes. So I'm working with what I got. Okay. This is what the eyes are looking like. I feel like I need more depth. Like, this could be a look in terms of like how deep this is, but I'm gonna need more. So I'm again going back into my La Cienega palette, and I'm gonna end up reaching for somewhat, let's do Hawthorn. This is the deeper shade. And I'm just gonna use that to deepen up this green so that we have a little bit more smoke in this outer corner. I just think for my complexion, these shades are a little too mid-tone. And there's no real deep shade in this palette in terms of the mattes, which is fine. You know, going into this, I knew this was going to be a very, very shimmer heavy palette, but I just didn't realize how light the mattes were going to be. So if you're my complexion or deeper, you may need to reach into other palettes to get some depth if you prefer a deep outer corner or a deep anything, because you're not going to get that in the Samarian Sunset palette. Okay, now this is what I want to see. This is what I need. Okay, time for the shimmers. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to go into the shade Praxi, because I don't know if you guys can see the green shift in that purple. So because it has that green shift there, I'm gonna go into this one, and then I'm gonna take a little bit of this green iridescent shimmer as well. Okay, it's very creamy. So this is Praxi. I'm taking that and I'm putting that directly into the center of the lid. This is a very creamy shade.
You hold me down just like this gravity, yeah. We could be underground, you make it feel like space, yeah.
And then we're going into the shade. It's called Risa. That's very, very pretty. And we're gonna, oh, that's, wow, that's pretty. We're just gonna plop that into the inner third of the lids here. Gonna blend that into. Okay, you guys see the look. It's definitely not showing up as green as I thought it would, but you see where this is going. I'm gonna go ahead and blend things out, clean things up, you know the drill, and I'll come back and show you guys the final look.
No need to find it, know what the time is. You know how I want it, no need for talking. You hit the target from when you walked in. It's crazy, 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 crazy how I feel, but something in my heart is saying that it's real.
Okay, y'all, this is look number 2. This is cute, the little green and the pink, and I really like this. This is really, really nice. Okay, so far I've been really enjoying this palette. I do want to do one more look for you guys before I come back and give you my final first impressions thoughts, but just wanted to say that I'm really enjoying this so far, and I'm really happy with how look number 2 turned out. Okay, so we are back for the third and final look using the Samarian Sunset palette from Adept Cosmetics. Here she is, and I swatched her by this point so you guys can see all of the indentations of the shades. So what I want to do is actually mix the red and the green, because we have not done that. We've done kind of like all red, all green, in terms of the mattes. So I'm gonna start by going into Delta Quadrant, and I'm gonna use that as my sort of transition shade in the crease area here. Now I am a little nervous to mix the red and green because color theory suggests that that's gonna give me mud. So this might not turn out good for me, but we're gonna try.
Truly belong. It's crazy, 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 crazy how I feel. There's something in my heart is saying
So I'm just putting that into the crease and then blending upwards to diffuse out.
when I'm with you. Oh, don't need to make a sound. Don't need no.
And then I'm gonna go into this green shade instead of the other one. It's called Darmok. And I'm gonna start by stamping that into the outer part here, blending it into the red.
Oh, baby, you hold me down just like this gravity. Gravity.
It's not really showing up. Okay, that's not really showing up the way I need it to, so I'm gonna wipe my brush off. I'm gonna switch gears and we're actually gonna go into the Tangara, which is the other green shade. So let's see if that does anything. Got better pickup. Okay, so far so good color-wise. I'm actually gonna try to go back into Darmok, which is the first green shade, and I want to put that into the inner part of the crease here, just a little bit.
They always make calls, always on that FaceTime. Something about when they're holding me.
Okay, I know this is looking a little chaotic. Just rock with me for a sec.
But not that bad.
I just want to make sure that the green peeks through in this look. And then same with the previous looks. I'm going to go into my La Cienega palette. I'm going to reach into Hawthorn, pick up a little bit of that deep brown, just so I can deepen up this outer part here. And you can probably tell that one of my criticisms of this palette will be that there is no deepening shade. Like everything is pretty mid-tone. And I'm saying mid-tone loosely because for some of us, especially for people who have darker complexions than I do, this green, the red, those are all going to be transition shades. So if you are a deep complexion or you like a deep outer V, you have to reach into something else. Okay, now for the shimmers, I'm going to go into Fairpoint. I'm just going in. Is that the one I wanted? No, that is not what I wanted to go into. Ah, yes. I'm going to go into Risa, the one right next to Fairpoint. Risa. This is Fairpoint. But I'm going to take Risa and I'm just going to plop that into the center of the lid.
I'll just wait. I know when he comes, he'll be the one. I'm proud to say that's my baby. So until then,
And I'm actually going to go ahead and go into Tal Shihar. It's kind of a blue shade, which honestly feels so different and odd for this palette because everything is so red. So I'm gonna take that blue silvery shade and I'm gonna put that into the inner parts of the lids, blending that into the first shimmer. This look is complete chaos. Jesus.
I know when he comes, he'll be the one. I'm proud to say that's my baby.
This is definitely not one of my nicer looks. If I had time, I would wash it off and give you guys another one, but I don't. So today is just gonna get an ugly eye look, and I apologize. Okay, so this is what the eyes are looking like right now. I'm gonna go clean things up and I'll come back and give you guys the final look and then wrap things up with my final thoughts on the Samarian Sunset palette by Adept Cosmetics.
They always buy flowers, always show up on time. They always make calls, always on that face.
Okay, so I'm back and this is the final look, and as you can tell, decisions were made. So the biggest thing is I decided that I was gonna do colored eyelash mascara for some reason. So I went in with the Pat McGrath colored mascara. This is a pink mascara actually. So that's what I decided I was doing at the very, very last minute. It's a bit much. This isn't something that I would wear typically, and luckily I have like no meetings today, so it's fine. I'm just working, so I'm not gonna look crazy. But this is definitely not like an everyday thing for me. So that's it. That's this face. And before we dive into my final first impressions thoughts, I do want to do some comparisons. I know most of you guys had the same thought that I did in terms of how similar is this to the House of Elle palette. So I want to quickly swatch both of them, not all of the shades, but a lot of them side by side so you can see where there may be some similarities or differences in the shimmers. So this is my House of Elle palette from Adept. It is well loved. You all know how I feel about this palette. I actually purchased a backup of this because it was that good. And then I was like, okay, you're being stupid. You've never panned a palette in your life. Just get rid of it. So I did end up putting it on my Macari and selling it. But this one is amazing. Now, as you can see from the color story here, it is a very, very warm, very, very warm color story. So, and there's a lot of that sort of orange in there. So I think when we all saw it, we were like, how similar is that to House of Elle? I don't necessarily think, yeah, the formula isn't the same looking at both of these now and thinking about how they apply. It's not the same formula, but I think we might be able to get some shades that are similar-ish. So here you guys have the both palettes side by side. It may not be exact dupes, but let's just go ahead and see what we can, you know, see what we can see. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna swatch these 4 shades. I'll swatch them next to each other so you guys can see what they look like, and then we'll swatch the Samarian Sunset shades so you guys can see what those look like, and we'll see if there are any dupes or comparative shades. Comparable shades, I should say. Okay, so these are the 4 orange shades or orange leaning shades from the House of Elle palette. So first up we have Kal-El, Zorel, and this is my absolute favorite shade, Allura Zorel, and Cara Zorel. Now these are creamy and definitely a different formula than what's in the Samarian Sunset palette. Okay, so let's start swatching the shimmers. Okay, so we have 3 from the Samarian Sunset palette. We have Fair Point, Lal, and Packled. So, Fair Point, Lal, Packled. So far, no real dupes. These 2 may be similar, but no, because this one has a pink to it and this one has a green to it. And then I'm gonna swatch these 4. Okay, here are the next 4 shades. We have Obsidian Order, Praxi, and I apologize for my little ghetto broken nail, Trill, and the USS Defiant. Okay, so what I'm looking at now is USS Defiant versus Zorel. They have a similar flip, I think. They have a similar flip, but different textures. Okay, there are 3 more shades in this Samarian Sunset palette, but I don't think that they have any comparisons or any dupes in the other one, but I'm still going to swatch them just because so you guys can actually see it. But these feel very, very different in my opinion than everything else. So we have, I guess, Moh, M-O-G-H, whatever that is, Risa, and Tal Shiar, which, as you can see from these 3, very different from these. So no comparison there. So the last thing that I want to do is swatch the USS Defiant next to Zorel so you guys can see, like, side by side if there's anything that looks so similar between the two. Okay, so we have Zorel, USS Defiant. Both very shiny, but Zorel just has a different level of shine, guys. So we have Zorel, USS Defiant. Nope. They have a similar shift to it, as you can see when I turn it this way. Very similar. But 2 very different formulas. But it's the same color flip. It's the same orange to green color flip. This one is just a little bit thicker, chunkier. It has more prominent sparkle to it. This one in the Samarian Sunset palette is just a lot smoother. So you can really, really see the difference in the size of the sparkles across the 2. Personally, I prefer the Zorel sparkle versus the USS Defiant. But if you missed out on Zorel from the House of L, I think you can get it with this one, if you don't mind that it's just a smoother texture. Okay, so just so you guys see everything again together, this is the House of L palette. These are the Samarian Sunset palettes, and there are no dupes or no exact dupes in this. I would say they're actually pretty different, yet complementary. Okay, so let's talk about it, guys. The Adept Cosmetics Samarian Sunset palette. Now, you all know I was very, very excited to get this. I thought that this was just a stunning color story. If it's orange, if it's red, I'm in there like swimwear. Is that the phrase? Like underwear? I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying at this point. But I really liked the color story of this because it was orange, it was red, and that's just what I like love. I love a good warm palette. In terms of the quality and performance of this performs really well. It's a beautiful palette. You get a ton of shimmers. You know, it's very shimmer heavy, and then you have a row of mattes that, in my opinion, are pretty complementary. Now, I do think there are some pros and cons to this palette. Pros, the amount of multichromes that you get here and the level of shifts that these multichromes have. From a just sort of economic standpoint, the amount that you pay per multichrome in this palette makes this worth it. This is a $79 palette, and quite frankly, some of these multichromes have pretty significant shifts to them, and they would typically retail for like $18 to $20, $24 each. And given that you're getting so many of these for the $79, I think it's actually worth it value-wise. I'm not somebody that buys a lot of singles, so this is something that appeals to me because I don't like buying singles. I like buying palettes, and the way Adept continues to put multichromes into palettes in a way that's wearable, I think makes a lot of sense. Now, from the wearer perspective of this palette, I definitely think it's intended to be you pick a multichrome and that's it. Now, I like to mix and match things, and I try to show you guys as much shades as I can, but in reality, these shades are so beautiful and they're so shifty that you can put one on the lid and then have one, like say your bronzer or a deepening shade or whatever, to buff it out. Now, I think for me, the biggest con in this palette are the mattes. And it's not necessarily that they have a bad selection of mattes, it's just that the depth in this isn't there. So these shades, while they may look deep for someone of my complexion, they are all mid-tone. They're not deep enough for me to get the deep outer corner that I prefer. So I have to go into a deeper palette to get that outer corner. And these light shades here are a little bit dusty on me, to be quite honest. Now, I can use them to blend out the sort of mid-tone shades in the palette, but I don't need them. I would have preferred if we had just one deeper, richer, either dark brown or black, so that us melanated folks could have gotten a little bit more depth from this palette. That being said, these are all magnetic pans, so you can pop them out. So I actually see myself probably popping out a couple of the mattes in it and putting in some of the mattes from the La Cienega palette, because I just think that, you know, the matte formula is really nice in this one, and this has the depth that I need that this one is missing. So overall, I think this is a beautiful palette. I think it's worth picking up. I'm really, really, really glad that this is not limited edition. So if you guys were interested in picking it up, you can definitely grab it on a really nice sale. Adept tends to do like a good 25% off sale every now and then. Plus Black Friday is coming up, so you might actually even be able to get this for say like 30% off, which would make this even more of a steal. Like I said, I think the value is there considering what we pay for single multi-chromes anyway. But I think that this is a good palette, appropriately priced. And I say that with like an eye roll, because I do think overall pricing is kind of stupid, out of this world at this point right now. But that's a whole other conversation for a whole other day. Given where everything else is on the market, I think that that is a good price. As a reminder, there are a number of affiliate codes out there. I do have one. It's just Jamila. It will save you some money on picking this up. But like I said, if you haven't purchased it yet and you're comfortable waiting, wait for like a solid 25% off sale so you can get it at a better price. But yeah, this is a good palette. Now, it is pretty monochromatic, I will say that. So it doesn't give you a ton of versatility. You're going to get a pretty orange look in everything because that's just what it is. But I think it makes sense given the theme of this palette. It's a sunset. You're going to get orange, warm, reds, pinky, yellows. That's what you're going to get. So that's it. I think those are all the things that I wanted to highlight with the palette. I'm really excited. I do think I need to tweak it a little bit to make it work for me the way I need it to, but I'm very, very happy that I have this in my collection. The last thing that I will flag is that it is different from the House of Elle palette, both in terms of the formulas that are in this palette, as well as the shimmers and the colors as well. There are no exact dupes. There is one shift dupe for Zorel in the House of Elle palette, but the formula is different and it's a different texture. So just something to keep in mind. Hopefully the comparisons portion of this video was helpful to you guys. Okay, so if you liked today's video, I would absolutely love if you would consider subscribing, hitting that like button, leaving a comment down below, letting me know if you picked it up or if you plan to pick it up, and just your overarching thoughts on the palette itself. But that's it, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. And as always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much more than you know, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye!